Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I hope we're having a great week. So, continuing our theme then of how to be more productive and get more out of your week, today is all about to-do lists versus task management software or apps. So, some of you will use both of these, some of you will use one or the other. So I wanted to go into a little bit of detail on what we do, how we use them, and what could be right for you, because there's no one model fits all in my eyes when it comes to using a to-do list or using a task management software or app. It's all about what you use most effectively, what makes you most efficient, and how you get the most done from doing it. But my first major point before we really kick into this is you have to use one. It doesn't matter if it is a to-do list that you write every morning, or it's app software or a software that you use, but you need to use one, and I'll come on to why in a short moment. So what we're going to look at today then is the differences between the two, why they're both really good and useful, and then how you can use them in what you do or make you more productive in that manner. So let's look at then, why would we use a to-do list, or why would we use a piece of software or an app for all of our productivity logging or creating lists during the day? So let's kick it off then with, first off, when we are doing tasks or we're planning our week and we've got lots of things going on, although memory recall is a great thing, it's very difficult to remember everything. And we touched on that on Tuesday with the diarising everything that you do. We physically cannot remember everything as much as we want to tell ourselves we can. Unfortunately, we can't. So we've got to use a tool, and that can be a to-do list, it can be just a list or notes, it can be software or apps, whatever it is. We need one of those to be able to literally mind dump from our heads onto either paper or something electronic. So we can clear the space in our head and not have to try and remember everything, and then allow ourselves to forget it, because ultimately the more we try to cram in, unfortunately something does have to come out. So what we've got to look at is why we need, or why we're going to do that to get the most out of it. So by using a to-do list or a piece of app, what that allows us to do is record things in an order and then prioritize them or categorize them into, as we've spoke about before, urgent, not urgent, or not urgent and important, etc. So you've got that quadrant that you can use. So it allows you then to categorize each of those items into one of those categories, and you can start to look at when you need to get them done. Now, only you can know and can tell yourself or prioritize these in the order, because what might be unimportant but urgent, or unimportant and unurgent, only you know that based on your circumstances. So it's all about you categorizing and prioritizing these in the right way. So getting them out onto paper, getting them into some form of order starts to allow you to think, right, okay, what's moving me closer to what we're trying to achieve? What results is each of these items going to bring? And it starts to put some formality and some process behind them. So let's look at the individual bits then. So we've got writing a to-do list. So I occasionally write a to-do list, and that's what works for me. So some people say, oh, you should write a to-do list every day. You should, make sure you have it categorized A, B, and C, priorities, etc. Yes, I could do that. However, it doesn't work for me. I find that quite labor intensive. I find it quite a restrictive way of working, because I spend more time trying to actually categorize things than just getting them done. And those of you that know me, I like to just get it done. So that for me doesn't work. However, I do use to-do lists occasionally. So some of you might use to-do lists every day, and you strike things off and you get that self-satisfaction of, I've done that task, I cross it off the list, and then the next day you can either carry things over or add to the existing. And that might work for you, which is fantastic, and make sure we keep doing that. However, the thing with a to-do list, in my experience, which is why I don't like them, is if you get things done, for example, sometimes we go, oh yeah, I've done that job, so I'll write it on my to-do list and then I'll cross it off. And I'm sure some of you have been there and you've been working really hard on something and you come back to your to-do list and you think, I've just done that, so I'm just going to write that down, and then you cross it off straight away. So you're adding to the to-do list to get that self-satisfaction and ultimately make yourself feel better about what it is you're doing. But that going back to the important, not important categories, are we just kidding ourselves on what we're getting done and just adding to it for the sake of it? So to-do lists have really, really good elements to them, but it's being mindful and conscious of what you're using them for and actually what you're adding to them. And you've got to be really diligent if you use them already and you do have one or two sneaky moments where you've done a task, you write it on your to-do list and then you cross it off straight after. Because we've all been there, I've done it, I know many of you watching will be sitting there laughing thinking, yeah, do you know what, I do that as well, which is fine. But we need to make sure that when we're trying to achieve certain results and goals, that we use it effectively. So let's park the to-do list. Let's move over to apps and software. So most of you who watch these videos will know that we use Asana for all of our task and project management. Now Asana is great because it's very, very easy to use. It's very much add a task, add an assignee, so the person who's responsible for that task, and set a date for it to be completed. You can put other categories and bits on it if you wish. But in essence, that is what Asana does. It's very simple to use. It's quite modular, so you can move things around within Asana. You can create boards, and so it's quite visual, etc., etc. And for me, that works really well. Because when I'm sat working on a task and something pops into my head as to, oh, I need to get that done, I can literally open Asana, write the task, assign it to myself for the date and time at which I need to get it done, and then I can go straight back to what I was doing. Now, there's a form or a slight amount of distraction there because I'm swapping between my items on what I'm getting done. However, I've literally logged it straight away into Asana, put a date and set a reminder on it, and then I go straight back to it. So it's automatic. So I now know that I can forget about that thought that I've had because I've not only logged it, but I've also set a reminder to remind myself that it needs to get done. So any form of app, and there's other forms of apps you can use. There's Trello, there's Monday, there's loads and loads of different other apps. Asana was just the one that we've integrated with the best. It ties into everything else we do. So again, it might not be right for you, but definitely check out different types of software or different apps that you could use for your to-do list, your task management, etc., etc. What that will allow you to do is, again, forget about these items, but be reminded when you need to be. So some of you may have come across similar scenarios to me whereby you think of something, oh yes, I need to get that done, and that's really going to help me to achieve or get a result or something along those lines. And then 2 or 3 days later, it pings back into your head and you're like, oh my God, I forgot about that. I need to go and get that done. So by having an electronic to-do list in some form of app or on a piece of software, it takes away that, oh, I forgot about that moment, and it allows you to keep everything concise. It allows it to put timescales on it, put dates on it, so that you actually get it done. You still get the self-satisfaction of marking it as complete. Whether that's the same as striking it off a to-do list, only you will know, but it has the same impact, it has the same effect. So why we would use both of these is because it allows us to get our thoughts out of our head, get them onto paper, categorize them as we need to, and then if you're using the electronic side of it, set reminders and updates or notifications so that you're not forgetting about it. You're constantly being reminded that you need to get it done. If actually that thought wasn't as urgent as you needed it to be, or you thought it was to be up front, you can just set a later reminder. So rather than having it remind you in a day's time, you could have it remind you in 2 weeks' time. So, but the great thing is you never forget it, or the app doesn't forget it, it reminds you constantly. Whereas on a to-do list, you've got to continually either transfer notes over or go back through your diary or whatever you record your to-do list on, and then refresh your memory to make sure that you're getting it done if it's necessary. So how you can start using these then is, like with a lot of the processes that we do, detailing down what it is that you've got to get done, etc. on your to-do list is a great place to start. So in the kind of initial phase, if you'd like to use that phrase to describe it, of getting your to-do list up and running to make you more productive, just use pen and paper or to-do list just to get into the swing of getting your tasks down. And while you're doing that, just have a look at different types of apps that you could use and then slowly transfer the list into the app. And you could do that over the course of a week or two, just to get used to the different items, get used to the software or the app, get used to actually setting reminders, etc., etc. And that will allow you to start getting into the habit of dumping things onto paper or into an app and get them out of your head. What we can then do is take that one step further, and you can look at going, right, okay, so I'm now going to have categories for, again, using our quadrant, urgent and important, urgent but not important, not important but urgent, and not important and not urgent. And you can make a board on something like Asana for each of those categories. And then you can put all of your items in it, and you can set them for different days, times, etc. to be completed. So you can take it that one step further. And again, you could do that over a 2 to 3 week period. And just gradually start to build this in. And so then as you're ticking items off, you're adding new ones in. You might set up a friend or a colleague or somebody who you've reached out to for help and support to do some of these tasks with or for you. So, excuse me, I've done another video before about doing things, delegating things, and making sure that you are spending time doing what you need to do and making sure that if you need help and support, you're reaching out, you're asking for it, and you're delegating or passing over those roles and responsibilities. So then what you could do is, if, for example, like us, you were using Asana, you could then put these tasks in and you can assign them to this individual. And then when they completed it, they can just mark it as done and tag you in it as well. So there's lots of different ways you can gradually build this up and over time. And in 6 to 8 weeks' time, you could be using an app alongside your to-do list to get yourself more productive. And it's very, very interesting to see that when you start getting into the swing of this, you start using apps and software to allow your business or your tasks in your personal life, whatever it is, you get to allow them to control the flow of those. It really does make an impact on how productive you are, what you get done. And it can be simple things. So like for me and James, for example, on a refurb, we can see all of the different items that need to be done. Now, we're not responsible for those items. They're not assigned to us. They're assigned to different members of the build team or the lettings team or the designer or the planner, whoever it is. But we can see all those items there, and we get notified when they get ticked off. So we can see the progress as it's happening, but we're not directly responsible for it. And that's quite a liberating feeling when you're seeing notifications to say this has been done, this has been done, this has been done, and you weren't doing it. So you know that business is happening, things are progressing and moving forward, and you weren't solely responsible, or it wasn't your time and effort that was responsible for getting that result, but the result was still achieved. And you can build this up over time. So I'll give you an example. So me and James have got different levels of projects now. So we've got to-do lists essentially for every element of our business. We've got logs, we've got loads and loads of different areas that we use. And they're all broken down. Certain people have access to certain areas. Some is just exclusive to me and James. Others is the full team. Lots of different ways we've structured it. This all started from a to-do list that we used to use a completely different app for, that we just used to tick boxes off. So it's grown and developed over time, and we've now got different sections, areas, etc. Lots of to-do lists, and it's got quite complex. But the principle of it is still very simple. We log a task, it gets marked off when it's done. It's categorized whether it's urgent, etc., etc. And we do this week in, week out. And we're constantly adding to it. The main benefit that we see, and again, it depends on you as an individual as to what's right for you, between a to-do list and an app, is that a to-do list, once you've crossed that item off the list, it's crossed out. And you might not necessarily be able to put too many comments or anything next to that item to be able to refer back to in the future. Whereas if we go into our Asana and we were to show you guys what it is that some of our sections look like, you could see the entire history of our task management. So you could see from day one, what was the very first task we put into Asana? What was the comments that went with that? And that could be 12, 18 months ago. So now where it is for metrics and monitoring and learning and growing with your business or your sideline passion, whatever that is, it's great for progress tracking. Because, not that I've ever done it, but I'm sure we could. If we wanted to run a report on how many tasks we complete each week, we could get a very clear metric on we add X number of tasks and X number get completed. So you can almost start to create a conversion rate out of your task management system and software. So it's very, very clever. And so you can constantly monitor everything you do. Now, I'm not saying that's better than a to-do list, because for some people a to-do list is the most productive thing for them. There's just differences, and depending on what you're trying to achieve out of them, there's different ways of approaching it. So you can really build up an app and you can really build out how functional it is for you. If you take it to the next level, whereas we're going now, you can then automate those tasks dropping in. So not to go into too much detail, and if anybody wants a video on automation, on how we get the apps to do different things, more than happy to do something on that. But if you look at the automation side of it, we've got functions whereby something will happen in our Google Sheet, for example, and then that will automatically create a task in a certain folder or column or project on Asana, and it will automatically assign the person that needs to do that task. And then when it's completed, you can also assign a new task to be created, so that you've then got step-by-step process being developed and taking place all the time. And automation is massively reducing the amount of manual labour that we're doing in our business, and it can do the same for you. So the differences that are coming through on to-do lists and apps and software that you can use are starting to really diverse. So it's finding out what's right for you and how far you want to take it. Because if, like us, you want to be able to forget about your tasks but be reminded when they're a week from being due or 24 hours before they're being due, and then also you want some automation in that when that task gets completed, another task gets added or gets assigned, then looking at an app is absolutely the way to go. If, however, you like traditional pen, paper, crossing things off, getting your information out of your head, down onto, say, a book or a folder, whatever it be, then that's great as well. It's whatever works for you and looking at what you want to get out of it. And if you're trying to see your productivity, then an app might be the way to go. So that was a lot of information on those two things. So hopefully you've got some golden nuggets out of that. I say we use Asana, but there are other apps that you can use. Again, Trello, Monday, you can use things like HubSpot. There's loads of different apps and pieces of software out there that you can use. So just find one that is right for you. The majority of them are free, so don't be paying 10s, 15s, £20 a month for subscriptions when you just don't need to get yourself started. So have a look at all the free ones. They're free up to a limit, but normally if it's just you or maybe two of you, you and your business partner or colleague, etc., you can do quite a lot with just those free packages. So have a look at those. Now, some of you are probably thinking, okay, well, what if I use a to-do list now and I want to use software but I don't really know what to do? Then I'm more than happy for you to drop questions below or reach out to us and ask, where we might be able to point you in the right direction of where to start. That's absolutely fine. If you want to be looking and researching on your own and make a decision, then that's absolutely fine as well. Just make sure that you're comfortable with the one that you choose before you really start to use it intensely, because the last thing you want is to have to shift a load of information and data from one to the other. The final bit that you might be thinking here is, well, what if I'm not very techie, or what if I've not used apps before? YouTube is one of the best things for online tutorials, and there is so much free information, tutorial walkthroughs, etc. on YouTube, that you can pretty much learn anything and everything these days, which again, I'm sure most of you are fully aware of. All of these companies who run their apps and their tech, they have tutorial series online. So check them out. Run through, have a look at what's on YouTube, etc. There are forums and everything else, so if you are looking for a particular answer, you will be able to find it online. I've got no doubts on that. So check all of these out. So give this a go this week. Test yourself between a to-do list and exploring or looking into some software or an app. Just start to test the water on how it could help your productivity, because hopefully you'll start to see through this series this week that if you've got the right workspace and you're in a productive environment, you're using your diary effectively, you're diarising everything, you're making sure that everybody who is involved in a meeting, etc., is part of that meeting in your diary, you're letting out your frustrations in a controlled and concise manner, through ranting and everything else that we spoke around yesterday, to the right people with the right expectations and followed up with some positivity. And then you're pulling this through into your day-to-day task management. You can really start to see how this starts to take shape. Lots of structure, lots of follow-ups, continuity, and also lots of productive ways to keep you, one, moving forwards, but two, keep you creative. Keep your mind constantly thinking about how you can find more solutions to any of the challenges that you come up against, and just keep your business growing or keep adding to what you currently do now. So give it a go. If you try any of these items out this week, do let me know. Really interested to see what results you get, how you find it. If there's anything we can help with, again, please do reach out to us. It's all about finding what's right for you. And I think we do get caught up quite frequently on, well, such and such had experience and success with this one thing, so I'm going to do that. And, excuse me, we've got to be careful that we don't try to copy somebody's way of working that's right for them, if potentially it's not right for us. So find out what's good for you. Play around with different ways of working, experiment, see your results, and then start to make informed decisions to keep that moving forwards. That's all from me. If you do start this week, please let me know how you get on. If you start to use to-do lists and apps, or you've been using them and you tweak and you change things and you get some good results, please do let me know. Really interested to see how you all get on. Any questions on anything I've spoken around today and also this week so far, please do let me know. Please do like, share, comment on our Facebook page, Instagram, tag anybody in this who you think is relevant to, and hopefully you'll get some really good results and some productivity levels increasing from this. That's all from me on this great Thursday morning. I hope that's been of value to you, and I will see you tomorrow for day number 5. Bye for now, guys.